This is a rubber curry comb. It's used for loosening caked on dirt and mud, as well as massaging the natural oils in the horse's coat to bring out a good natural shine. This is a metal curry comb, and it's used for two things. First, it's used to clean other brushes, so you can take your regular brushes and scrape this along the top of it to get any loose hair or dust out of your brush and clean it. Or you can use it while horses are shedding to de-shed the coat. There's two sides to it, a long side and a short side. And so on a shorter shedding coat, you're going to want to use the shorter side, and then on a longer shedding coat, you can pull this out. Oops, sorry, here, hold this. Twist it around and use the other side. This is a dandy brush, also called a hard brush. It's good for longer coats, like during the winter. It's got harder bristles on it, and it's also good for removing caked on dirt.
This is a body brush. It is used to remove dirt, dust, and scruff. This is best to be used on a short coat. Another name for this is a soft brush.
Okay, this is a hoof pick. This is used to remove packed dirt from hoofs. This is a hoof brush right here, and it's used for cleaning out the dust underneath the hoof as well. Some hoof picks have this and some don't. This is a face sponge. It's used to clean around the horse's eyes, nose, lips, and ears. You only want to use this on the face to prevent spreading of germs and bacteria. This is a large body sponge. It's used to wash the horses during baths. This is a mane and tail brush. It's used for detangling the mane and tail. If your horse has any large knots, you want to pick them out by fingers so as to not rip out their hair. This is a mane comb, a metal mane comb. It's used for pulling and shortening the horse's mane. This is not to be used in everyday grooming. This is a shedding blade. It's used for de-shedding a horse on longer coats or in the winter season. Do not use this after a bath because the sharp ends are too sharp on the wet coat and can hurt the skin. This is a sweat scraper. It's used after baths, and it's used to remove extra water and sweat. This is a rub rag. It's used to remove stains from coats, or you can use it afterwards to de-dust your horse and get all the fine tuning and dust off of your horse after you finish brushing it. This is a bucket brush, also called a water brush, and you can use it for cleaning buckets, but you don't want to use it on horses' coats because it's too rough and too hard for their sensitive skin. So each of you got in your email a grooming tools worksheet that goes over all of the different grooming tools that we talked about today. You can fill these worksheets out for fun. I'm Candace.
I'm Julia.
This is Remy, and today we're going to be talking about the order that you groom your horse in. So first we're going to talk about a couple reasons why we groom our horse. The first reason is to check for injuries or problems. So you always want to do a once-over while you're grooming your horse to look for any injuries, scratches, anything nicks or knacks that they might have gotten while they were in their stall overnight. You want to do this to prevent sores. So especially where the tack goes, the area where your saddle is going to be sitting, your girth is going to be sitting, your breastplate, your bridle. If your horse has dirt on those areas and you put a saddle or tack on those spaces, the dirt is going to rub and cause the skin to go raw or to get sores on it. So you want to make sure that those areas especially are extra clean. You also want to do this to condition the horse's skin and make the coat shiny. As you groom with your different grooming tools, it's going to bring up the natural oils in their coat and help them to have a good natural shine. The rubbing, especially with tools like the curry comb, the rubber curry comb, which we'll get to in just a minute, helps promote good circulation of the blood. The horse thinks it feels good, and it's also a great opportunity to bond with your horse and get to know them a little bit before you ride them. So now we're going to talk about when we groom the horses. You want to make sure to check your horse every single day, even if you don't ride them. You always want to groom before you saddle your horse, and then after you are done riding to make sure to remove sweat, dirt, and anything that might have got worked up while you were riding. So the first step to grooming your horse is to tie your horse up. Today we have Julia holding the horse, so we don't need to tie our horse. If you're not putting your horse in a cross tie situation, you want to make sure that you always tie it using a safety release knot. You also want to make sure to use a breakaway halter, so that way if your horse does pull away, that they can get set free and aren't stuck in a bad situation. The next thing you do once your horse is tied up is you're going to pick the hooves. So I'm going to come over here to my grooming tools. I'm going to grab the hoof pick. I'm going to stand with my feet parallel to the horse. This is body. I'm going to take my left hand. I'm going to run it down his leg, push my shoulder into his shoulder to pick up the foot. And then I'm going to start picking. I'm going to pick away from me towards the toe of the horse. Now we have a lot of rain and mud right now, so the feet are going to be pretty dirty. Okay. After you pick the hoof like so, you can take your brush on the end of your hoof pick and brush it off. Okay. And a good reason why you always want to pick away from you and not towards you is because this part right here is pretty sensitive on the horse. So you don't want to pick too hard coming at it and then end up hurting your horse's soft sole here. So you always want to pick away from you. You want to pick out this V shape right here. It's called the frog. And then around the shoe as well. When you're cleaning and grooming the hoof, if your horse has shoes, you want to make sure that there's no loose clinches, that all the nails are secure. The shoes on, the shoes sitting right on their foot, not hanging off, and nothing's loose there. Okay, now we're going to take our curry comb and we're going to work in circles, not squares, not triangles, but circles all over our horse's coat to work up, if you can see, all the dust that's getting worked to the surface. You want to make sure to get their chest, their neck, their shoulder. What you don't want to use this curry comb on is on their legs. And you want to make sure to be sensitive on their bone areas, like their hip bone. You're not going to be using this on their face. Anywhere that's sensitive, you don't want to use the curry comb because it's a little too rough for them. So after you complete the curry comb, you should do their whole body. They're really, really good, especially where the saddle goes. That can feel really good, like a belly rub. Okay. Then after that, you're going to move on to your next step. This is the dandy brush or the hard brush. Again, you don't want to use this on any sensitive areas like the legs, bones, or if your horse is clipped and has a short coat, you're not going to want to use this. It's going to be a little too hard on their skin as well. So you're going to take this and you're going to use short, quick flicks. And you do this to get all that dirt that you just worked up with the curry comb. You're going to knock it off with this brush here. Next, we're going to be using the soft brush. You're going to start at the top here, using short flicks. You're going to get all that dust off that you missed with the harder bristled dandy brush. This gives their coat a nice good shine. Every few brush strokes, you can take your metal curry comb and give it a couple scrapes there. That'll help get the dust out of it, and then you can continue to de-dust your horse here. Now we're going to take the mane and tail brush and we're going to groom the mane and tail. So you can just kind of start at the bottom, work your way up. And I detangle all of it. If your horse has any large knots in it, you want to pick those out with your fingers, not with your brush. That way you can make sure not to rip their hair out and to be as gentle as possible. If your horse has an extra tangly mane and tail, then make sure to use a detangler to help keep them comfortable while you're grooming it. When you groom the tail, you always want to stand off to the side. You never want to stand directly behind your horse for a couple reasons. First, so that way they can see you and they know where you're at. And then that way they won't step on you or back up on you or back up and step on you or any of the above. That they'll be able to see you, know where you're at. So you can stay safe. All the lesson horses are really good and kind and would never step on you on purpose, but if they can't see you, because horses can't see directly behind them, then they might accidentally. So you want to just stand off to the side, and then you don't have to worry about that happening. Okay. The last part of your regular grooming routine is going to be the rug rag. So you can take the rug rag. I like to use these microfiber ones. I feel like they get more dust off. You can use it damp, or you can use it dry. I find that it works a little better if it's just a tad bit damp, but not too wet that it's going to soak the coat. Then I'm going to wipe any and all remaining dust, loose hairs off of the horse, just to give them that final sleek sheen. The following areas of your horse should always be checked, and the task is optional if no signs of dirt or distress exist. So the first optional task is to clean the face with a small, soft brush or sponge. I have a sponge here, and here's what a face brush is going to look like. It's going to be small, super soft, so as to not scratch the horse. With your sponge, you can wipe around their eyes, make sure if they have any eye boogers, you can check their nose, their ears. And then with this soft face brush, you can gently brush all of the dust off and around their face. Does that feel good? Yeah. Their nose, cheeks. Since their faces are really bony and sensitive, that's why you want to make sure to use a really soft brush. Then you also want to check if your horse's sheath and udders are clean, especially if you own a horse. And that's going to be your responsibility to make sure to groom that area as well. Then if you want to put hoof dressing on, especially if you're going to be riding in a show or if your horse's feet are just really dry and cracked, then you can use some hoof dressing. His feet are pretty dirty as far as like muddy right now, and it's really wet and gross out, so we're not really going to waste our time putting hoof dressing on, but it's an option that people can use. And then you can take a wet damp cloth, or you can take a wet sponge, and you can wet the top of the hair to keep all of it onto the same side. You want to tame your horse's mane always to the right side of their body. Last but not least, you can fly spray your horse. This is done lastly so that you don't groom it off with the other tools that you groom with. In your email packet, we sent out an order of grooming worksheet that goes over all of the information that we went over today. You can fill this out and just as a review and use it to review later on.
If you have any questions, you can go ahead and comment down below.
Like and subscribe for more horse educational content.